What we know most clearly is that in early 2011, WikiLeaks plans to release tens of thousands of documents from one major U.S. bank. Aside from that, I do know that he's sitting on a whole trove of documents, more gigabytes than he can count, and about half of it relates to the private sector.
Would he tell you which bank?
He wouldn't tell me which bank.
Did he give you?
And I'd rather not speculate on it.
Did he give you any sense of it at all, of, sort of what else in the private sector?
Well, I went through a kind of industry checklist with him, and he told me that he does have potentially damaging and unpublished information on the pharmaceutical industry, energy, and finance, even aside from this one sort of bank mega leak that we discussed.
There's all kinds of wire reports all over the place that there's something coming about Bank of America. Did he tip his hat to that at all?
Not at all. In fact, I think the source of those reports has been a Computer World interview that he did in 2009, saying that he had a hard drive from Bank of America. He would not confirm that to me whatsoever, and I have no original reporting on that.
Okay, so what do you make of the information he's talking about, particularly with the banks? I mean, he claims this is going to really, reveal how executives work and maybe even lead to reforms in the system. Do you have any doubt that he's got what he says he's got?
Well, as I say in the story, Assange has never failed to follow through on a threat. At the same time, he does tend to, occasionally overestimate the impact of his leaks. He claimed to me, for instance, that a leak on the Swiss bank Julius Baer a couple of years ago prevented the IPO of that bank in the U.S. And in fact, that IPO was merely delayed, and it went off, just a couple months later. So he does have a tendency, perhaps, to kind of overestimate, the kinds of reforms and the scandal that his leaks will create.
How helpful could it be? I mean, what would you expect to see from this information? I mean, I'm thinking back to, the role that leaks of information played in the Enron case, for example. I mean, give us some context on this. Like, if he's got what he says he's got, and if it comes out, what might the implications be?
The truth is that we won't know what the implications are until we see the documents. And I don't know anything else any more than you do, except what Assange told me, which is this, that he has tens of thousands of documents, that they are more than a mere smoking gun, that they paint a picture of the motivations of executives at a very high level, an entire kind of ecosystem of corruption, as he said, showing the incentives of executives, how they kind of enter into bad decision-making or unethical decision-making, and how they even talk about those decisions.
Curious what it was like talking to him. What's he like? Did you get a sense of what's motivating him to do this, and whether he's got a sense of, my gosh, what he's doing?
I think he does, and I think he understands exactly how important, what he's doing is, and how potentially influential. He certainly is a very strong character, verging on arrogant, I would say, but also very contemplative and he's this kind of he thought about every answer to every question for this sort of long pause before he answered. And I think that he does have an incredibly strong conviction that what he's doing is morally important, that information should be free, that transparency is a virtue.
And do you think it is? Do you think it is morally correct? I mean, especially when he's talking about releasing information about private sector companies. Is he crossing a line here, do you think, or not?
Well, at Forbes, we also release information about private sector companies. That's what journalism does. But at the same time, clearly he's been taking it to a new level. And I guess I can't pass judgments on whether WikiLeaks is some kind of hero or some kind of supervillain. And in fact, there's just too many arguments on each side. I guess the point of our story was simply to warn the private sector that there's this new age of involuntary corporate transparency coming, and it's something that businesses need to think about.